leg tense when you're on the shifting, when you feel the shifting of the weight into the front foot. You feel all the muscles tense up. So that's an object. Again, that's mindfulness of body. Now that isn't noted in the sutta, but specifically. So what teachers do is to show you all these objects, what you can note. And that's called, investigation of the Dhamma. We're investigating what's happening. And so the closer and closer you can pay attention to this phenomenon, deeper you go into concentration and the faster you go through these insight knowledges. Purification of, again, virtue, mind, view, going on up to Maggaphala. So there's on the section of postures, a bhikkhu while walking knows I am walking. While standing, he knows I am standing. While sitting, he knows I am sitting. While lying down, he knows I am lying down. That's a general statement. Again, you note the touching. If you're lying down, you don't just note that you're lying down, but then you can note the touching, the contact of the body, from the head down to the feet. All those objects. I am lying down. And to make it simple, we just say lying, lying, or sitting, sitting, standing, standing, walking, walking. And then we get down into the nitty-gritty. Lifting, moving, placing. We're not just walking, we're taking one step at a time. So there's a sentence in its own paragraph below that. To summarize, a bhikkhu should know to know whatever way his body is moving or placed. That is one of the most important sentences in the whole Satipatthana Sutta. It covers every kind of activity that we can ever do in our life. And so if we're at a meditation center, it covers all these transitional movements. What do I note when I go from sitting to standing to walking? What do I note when I'm going from standing to sitting? We put our hand down, we turn. There's the adjustment of the seat. If we're sitting at a table or sitting in a chair, our elbows out on the arm of the chair, we note the contact of the arm, your arm, on a table or desk. Noting every muscle tensioning when you're walking up and down the stairs. The contact of your hand on the railing. Is it cool? There might be a coolness to it. If you're walking out on a hot sidewalk, barefoot, you note that pain, heat on the bottom of the foot. Hot, hot, hot. I was bit by a centipede in Sri Lanka in the middle of my back, and I felt it moving, so I was like, touching, 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 and then it bit me. Then I note fire, 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 pain, 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 and then finally I got up. The mind started screaming, pain, 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 fire, fire. So that's how you meditate. That's how you note something happens. You start noting it, and then, if it's an emergency, then you move. Sounds, noting the sounds. One of the sense bases. We want to note the consciousness. Just hearing. Hearing, hearing, hearing. We don't care what the sound is, who made the sound. We don't care about the story. We only want to note the consciousness. Whatever we're noting, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to come up with some story. When I was driving here today, I'd see this, I'd see that, and then the thoughts would be going, oh, I could call my friend and said I saw this object because he likes it, or a particular car or something. So as we're driving, mind is wandering, we see something, but because we're not noting, seeing, or hearing, we make up stories, and that falls under delusion, Ouija, ignorance, and it keeps us on the cycle of birth and rebirth, not going towards Nibbana. So noting the consciousness is the most important thing, and then don't think about what is heard. Sometimes, so there's three kinds of thoughts we can have. Thoughts that involve like sense desires, thoughts that involve anger, and thoughts that involve cruelty. And so cruelty comes in when, usually to living beings. There's a dog barking, we start hating that dog. And it's like, if I got a hold of that dog, or I want to kick the dog, or I want to hurt somebody or something, those are the thoughts of cruelty. So it's different than anger. And so again, that's something, when that arises, okay, there it is, and note it. The thing is, people who, angry types, like to be angry. So then they don't note the anger, because they want to keep the anger. I mean, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, and that's really quite. Usually we like pleasant things. We don't like being angry, but angry types like to be angry. Greedy types like to be surrounded with good-looking objects of desire. So each of those people have to note whatever your attachment is, being angry or critical or greedy, lustful. You have to note these objects, or make a special effort to note these things. And then greed, hatred goes down. You become cooler. One of my friend's brothers, who's a good meditator, he was talking to his brother about what a good feeling it is to not have so much greed, not to have so much greed and hatred in his mind. It's he was just remarking on how wonderful it is, not to be burning with these desires, to be cooled down. And so that's the effect of, again, noting all these objects. We're noting anger. Anger goes down. Eventually it gets eliminated. We note greed. Greed level goes down. Eventually it gets eliminated. So anagami, arahant, greed and hatred are completely eliminated. So what's left? Loving kindness. It's just a very happy, buoyant life. And they wouldn't give it up for anything. They wouldn't go back to the regular world of impermanent sense pleasures. Losing the ones that we love, all these painful feelings that we get. Loss of relatives, loss of property. It's very painful. Another example of mindfulness, when I was at Barry, the Insight Meditation Society, they had a bowling alley in the basement. So it's a very smooth, very nice place to walk, and it's the proper distance. So if I was able to get down there first, I'd grab that spot. Because we have, again, like we have 15 people here, you want to try to find a nice spot to do your walking. Well, the competition for 100 nice spots is a little bit higher. So if you got down there and you got that space, it was very important. So you grab that space, then lifting, moving, placing very slowly. At that time I had a lot of hair and the ceilings were very low. So my hair would be grazing the ceiling. So I could feel the ceiling touching the hair, and then you could hear it kind of scraping. It's not that loud, but it's you can notice it. So as I'm going with my head kind of straight and even, lifting, moving, placing, and then the sound of the hair scraping along the ceiling. So I have not only lifting, moving, placing, but then I can feel the hair being tugged by the ceiling, and I can note the sound. So at the end of that retreat, there was a lady in the group who talked about hearing my hair scraping along the ceiling, and I was like, that's me. I didn't say that, but this is investigating the Dhamma, which that falls under the 7 factors of enlightenment under the Dhamma group. So that is of those 7, that's a very important factor. You have to be very creative with your practice. Again, with these stairs, again, that's a gold mine. You have just going up and down the stairs. Take an hour going down step by step. And then the turning around and then going back up. Being creative with these objects and noting them, that leads to concentration, it leads to wisdom and liberation. When you're at these retreats, again, you have to be mindful from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep. But then the more concentrated you are, you get to see more objects. You get to be very precise with your noting. You see an object, you hit it, it disappears, then you're on to the next object. So you get to see this cause and effect. Whenever you're walking or eating, doing any activities, try to look and find the consciousness that arises before you move, the intention before moving. It's there. If you're reaching for a door handle, reaching for a ceiling fan, pull string, there's an intention before you do something. So we want to see that first intention. If you practice like that, you can't help, you can only be successful in your meditation. You can't fail. It's all going back. We need 2 things. The effort to be mindful. The effort to note. Second to second to second. One of my friends came up with requirements, to attain 350 hours of mindfulness to attain Satipatthana. And so I never heard that before. Usually you just say 2 or 3 weeks or 1